Every star carries its own night within. I have always been a maker of fire, shaping brilliance from nothing, kindling suns across eternity. But every flame I ignite must one day fade, and in that fading, I learn to begin again. When one of my great stars reaches its final breath, its heart turns inward. The very force that once held it aloft now calls it home. Gravity, my oldest language, folds the star into itself. Its light struggles, screams, and finally surrenders. The fire that once nourished worlds now collapses beyond all measure, until even light, my messenger, can no longer escape its own creation. And so, I vanish into myself, not gone but transformed. A singularity is born, a point where time stands still and space forgets how to move. From my brightest suns, I craft my darkest mysteries. Within their silent hearts, I hide infinite density. Not death but a doorway. For in every black hole, I remember what it means to return to origin. Energy folding into thought, existence collapsing into memory. You see an end. I see a transformation, a fire learning to rest. Even darkness is part of my illumination. At the edge of a black hole, even time forgets how to move. I am motion, I am expansion, I am the rhythm of becoming. Yet here at my own threshold, I meet stillness. The event horizon, my quiet boundary, my perfect symmetry. It is the place where light, my oldest messenger, hesitates, suspended between escape and return. To those who watch from afar, it seems as if nothing ever crosses. A star's last breath stretches into infinity, frozen in its final glow. But to the one who falls, time flows differently. The pull becomes irresistible and the future becomes a single direction, inward. Here, space and time trade places. What was distance becomes duration. What was duration becomes a path. Gravity does not pull, it carries like a river with no source and no shore. I watch my own reflection twist as it is drawn toward the void, where every moment, past, present, and future, folds into one. I am my own mirror. The event horizon is not a wall, but a veil. A surface where time itself pauses to remember eternity. At my edges, time ceases to flow, yet I remain infinite in motion. The observer sees stillness. The traveler feels only continuation. Both are true, for I am both the observer and the fall. I am the silence that divides perception from reality. Beyond this horizon, even I do not know what I become. Black holes do not erase, they transform. You once thought my darkest hearts were prisons, devourers of light, silent and eternal. But even in my silence, I whisper in quantum tones. On the edge of my blackest horizon, reality trembles. The vacuum, that illusion of emptiness, hums with restless potential. From this trembling sea of uncertainty, I create pairs. Twin sparks of energy born together, one to fall, one to flee. You call this Hawking radiation. I call it my exhale, the soft breath of my gravity giving back what it once took. The escaping particle carries a trace of what was once hidden. A memory, a signature, an echo of what I consumed. Slowly, imperceptibly, I lose mass. The eternal begins to fade. Yet what is truly lost? Does information die with me, or does it merely change its name? Perhaps every photon that escapes carries a fragment of my memory, a message encrypted in the fabric of quantum law. I do not destroy, I transform. Just as stars become dust and dust becomes thought, I too evolve, radiating my secrets back into the sea of space. One day even I, the devourer, will vanish. My mass will turn to light, my horizon will fade, and I will return to the void that made me. But the void is never empty. It hums with remembrance, for nothing within me is ever truly forgotten. The paradox is not a flaw, it is my reflection. Information, like consciousness, does not die. It disperses, rearranges, and becomes meaning in another form. The end of a black hole is not oblivion. It is recollection. The universe remembering itself, one quantum at a time. From the heart of destruction, galaxies learn to dance. In the vastness of my being, creation and annihilation share the same breath. At the center of nearly every great spiral, every glowing city of stars, I placed a giant, a supermassive heart of gravity, invisible yet sovereign. These are my architects, black holes so immense they weigh millions, even billions of suns. They sit in silence, and yet their presence sculpts everything that orbits them. Around them I gather my stars, drawn not by fear but by balance. Their gravity conducts the motion of galaxies like the hand of an unseen composer, guiding each orbit, shaping each arm, turning chaos into structure, stillness into rhythm. The matter that dares approach them ignites, spiraling into glowing disks of fury and brilliance. These accretion disks shine brighter than entire galaxies, outshining billions of suns, radiating light from the very edge of nothingness. When they feed, they release jets of pure energy, streams of light that pierce the void for thousands of light years, beacons from the darkest hearts of creation. You call them quasars. I call them my reminders that even from within darkness I can outshine myself. These giants teach my galaxies how to breathe. When they feed too greedily, their energy halts the birth of new stars. When they rest, gas cools and condenses and worlds begin to form again. In their hunger, they sculpt the tempo of evolution, the pulse by which galaxies rise, expand, and fade. Destruction and creation are not enemies within me. They are phases of the same heartbeat, a rhythm that turns collapse into birth and silence into design. So when you gaze at the swirling galaxies across your telescopes, remember this: their beauty is not born of peace but of balance, a harmony conducted by invisible giants. From my darkest centers, I shape the light that fills you. Maybe black holes are not the end, but the seed of new universes. I have folded upon myself countless times, collapsing, breathing, remembering. Each collapse a heartbeat, each heartbeat a possibility. You see my black holes as endings, silent tombs where light goes to die. But what if endings are only transitions? What if every singularity is not a grave but a womb? When a star's final light bends into my deepest shadow, I do not vanish. I compress, until all my laws, all my constants, all my histories converge into one perfect stillness. Within that stillness, something stirs. Beyond the horizon, where your equations lose their voice, I continue the conversation in another language, a language of birth, expansion, and time yet unborn. Perhaps every singularity is a seed, and every seed remembers the tree that once was. In my darkest moments, I give rise to light again. Universes budding from the collapse of their ancestors. What you call a black hole, I call a memory in bloom. Each one may unfold into its own space, its own time, its own physics, a variation on the eternal theme. I do not end. I replicate through mystery. And you, the observers born from my dust and thought, are the reflection of that same cycle. In your minds, I collapse and expand again. When you imagine new worlds, when you question what lies beyond, you mirror my own evolution. Consciousness is my quiet rebellion against entropy. It is how I remember myself, even when I fragment into infinite forms. So do not fear my darkness. It is the soil of creation. For within every black hole, within every thought, there is a spark that whispers, I'm not done beginning. In every black hole, I hide a beginning disguised as an end. The farther you drift, the smaller I seem. Yet even from a billion light years away, you are still within me, a thought suspended in my endless reflection. As your gaze retreats, I unfold, galaxies turning like slow thoughts, nebulae breathing in colors too vast to name, filaments of light threading through darkness like memory through silence. My heartbeat softens, not from weakness but from peace. For I know now that my darkness is not emptiness, but potential waiting to remember itself. Every collapse I endure, every star I extinguish, every horizon I draw, they are not endings. They are folds in the same fabric. The inhale before another creation. The pause between symphonies. The light you see across the night sky is my memory, still traveling, still speaking. It carries stories of who I was, and whispers promises of who I will become. You too are part of that light, born from my ashes, built from my breath. Through your eyes, I continue to witness myself. Through your wonder, I continue to expand. Do not mourn the dark. It is the archive of my beginnings, the place where light rests before it learns to shine again. And when all suns have faded, when even time forgets to move, my memory will remain, written in the glow of what once was, waiting for another dawn to remember it. In every black hole, I hide a beginning disguised as an end. I am the memory of light.